I've arrived in a small nature reserve known as Nylsvley. It's about 6,000 hectares and it's famous for three things: the floods that arrive in the wet summer of South Africa, the birds that they attract, and Roan antelope. And I'm hoping that I'll see all three in this extraordinarily wet period and wet year that we've had in South Africa.
Nylsvley is one of the last remaining floodplain systems of its kind in South Africa. And its value isn't in spectacle, but in timing. It's a place that only works properly when it's flooded, and it doesn't flood every year. The water is borrowed. It winds through upstream farms and towns before it ever reaches the wetland. If we pull too much from the rivers before the water gets here, the valley stays dry and the marshes simply sleep. The 160-kilometre floodplain gets its name from early trekkers who came across it in the 1860s. Seeing the river flowing northwards, it was thought to be a source of the Nile. They named the valley and its surrounds Nylsvley, the Nile Marsh.
I thought I'd take a moment and climb up on Basil's roof just to have a look out over the head-high grasses in the floodplain here. It's so hard to see anything because they're up this high at this time of year, late summer. And I suspect wandering around through this stuff will just be an exercise in contracting tick bite fever, and I won't see much more. But on top of Basil's roof, I can see there's some zebra over there, a young giraffe feeding on the acacia thorn, and some beautiful clouds drifting over this wonderful valley. It's not always a place where you can get great photographs, especially at this time of year with this thick green vegetation just growing everywhere. But it's a fantastic environment just to be in, just to see, just to experience at this beautiful time of South African summer.
Of course, it's also home to many creatures. The Roan antelope, critically endangered in South Africa, breeds here, alongside other rarities like Tsessebe and the elusive leopard. The tiny herd of roan is much of the reason I'm here.
I'm driving slowly along at sunrise along this gravel track, looking for wildlife in the floodplain out to my right here. I've seen a few things. I've seen a kudu, a couple of ostrich, and now there's a hartebeest looking at me.
It's like that in summer. It's always hit and miss. You have to get out into these environments just to see these things. It's never, ever guaranteed.
I think this hide has been rebuilt since I was here last. There was a big fire that burned down a lot of the hides. And although it's probably ideal for birders being raised up on stilts above the marshes out in front of me, it's not really ideal for us photographers because we're shooting down at birds that are nearby. The close birds are the ones that count for us.
I guess a lot of conservation spaces are designed around seeing, not necessarily around photographing.
I'm absolutely loving the sounds of this marshland. There's some beautiful sounds of white-faced whistling duck flying overhead. One of those classic African sounds.
Nylsvley is one of the few places in South Africa where roan antelope still occur. They're not common, they don't concentrate in groups, and they don't show themselves easily. I came here hoping to see roan, not necessarily to photograph them, just to see them. A falling sun and a long, lonely evening leaves a lot of time for thought. I do wonder why it's become so hard to find roan in South Africa. There's a complex set of reasons, but I can't help feeling that most of it has to do with the small spaces we leave for wildlife.
Nylsvley supports 61% of the entire breeding population of inland waterbirds south of the Zambezi. Just 5% of this unique catchment is protected. Nylsvley is on a knife edge, and so is everything I see here.
My thoughts rest on a quote by Aldo Leopold. I'm glad I shall never be young without wild country to be young in. Roan have only crossed my path once before. My grandfather was persuaded to shoot a roan back in the 1940s. He said the experience was so harrowing, he never shot an animal again. I've been looking for most of my life. I saw mine 17 years ago. Sometimes photography is a journey made with ghosts, along a trail that's been walked so long its beginning has disappeared.